Imagine waking up tomorrow with complete control over every word you speak, every emotion you feel, every dollar you spend, and every thought that crosses your mind. Sounds impossible, right? But over 2,000 years ago, there was a man who believed this wasn't just possible. He believed it was the only way to live a truly free life. His name was Epictetus, and he was born a slave. Let that sink in. He had no control over his body, no freedom of movement, no say in his circumstances. He was owned by another person. Yet somehow this man discovered something so powerful, it transformed him from a physical slave into one of the most influential teachers of mental and emotional freedom. He taught, "No one can hurt you without your permission." At first, that might sound harsh, especially to someone going through real pain. But what he meant was this: while we can't always control what happens to us, we can control how we respond. And in that response lies our true power. Most of us today aren't physically enslaved, but many of us are trapped by our own uncontrolled words, emotions, spending habits, and thoughts. We say things we regret. We let our moods ruin entire days. We spend money we don't have on things we don't need. And we allow our minds to spiral with fear, doubt, and worry. But what if I told you that the same wisdom that freed a Roman slave could also free you? What if the very things you feel most out of control in, your mouth, mood, money, and mind, could actually become your greatest strengths? The ancient Stoics understood something we've forgotten. Real wealth isn't measured in dollars, it's measured in self-control. Real power isn't about controlling others, it's about mastering yourself. And true freedom isn't having endless choices, it's about making the right choices consistently. Every single day, life gives you the chance to practice this. Someone cuts you off in traffic? That's your chance to control your mouth and your mood. You're tempted to buy something you don't need. That's your moment to take control of your money. Your mind starts spiraling with fear or doubt. That's your opportunity to reclaim your thoughts. The beauty of Stoic wisdom is that it doesn't expect perfection. Even Marcus Aurelius, the most powerful man in the Roman Empire, struggled with these same things. In his journal, he reminded himself daily, "You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength." This isn't about becoming emotionless. It's about becoming so rooted in who you are that external chaos can't shake you. When you control your mouth, you speak with intention, not impulse. When you control your mood, you choose your emotional state, instead of being its victim. When you manage your money, it becomes a tool for peace, not a source of stress. And when you master your mind, you become the author of your thoughts, not their prisoner. In the next few minutes, you're going to gain insight into these 4 pillars of personal power. We'll explore ancient wisdom that's more relevant today than ever, and you'll walk away with real tools to start using immediately. But here's the deal. This only works if you commit to it. Each section builds on the one before it, so don't skip ahead. Stay with me through every part, and I promise this could change your life. If you're ready to take back control, hit that like button. Drop a comment telling me which of the 4 M's you struggle with most. And make sure you're subscribed, because this journey to self-mastery is just getting started. Share this with someone who needs it, because real power begins with you. And drop this in the comments: I am the master of my mouth, mood, money, and mind. Number 1. Master your mouth, the gateway to wisdom. There's an old saying, the tongue is a small thing, but what enormous damage it can do. But here's what most people don't realize. Your mouth isn't just about the damage it can cause to others. Every word you speak is either building or destroying the person you're becoming. Seneca, one of Rome's greatest Stoic philosophers, spent years observing the power of speech in the Roman Senate. He watched as careers were built and destroyed with single sentences. He saw friendships shattered by careless words and alliances formed through thoughtful communication. But his most profound insight came from watching himself. Every new beginning comes from some other beginning's end, Seneca wrote. And nowhere is this more true than with our words. Every time you speak, you're ending one version of yourself and beginning another. The question is, are you becoming someone you respect? Think about the last time you said something in anger that you immediately regretted. In that moment, you felt the power of uncontrolled speech. Your words had escaped before your wisdom could catch them. Now imagine if you could reclaim that power. What if every word you spoke was chosen, not just released? The Stoics developed a simple but profound practice, the pause. Before speaking, especially in emotional moments, they would pause and ask themselves 3 questions. Is it true? Is it helpful? Is it kind? If the answer to any of these was no, they remained silent. But controlling your mouth isn't just about holding back negative words. It's about the intentional use of positive ones. When you compliment someone genuinely, you're not just making their day better. You're training yourself to notice good in the world. When you speak words of encouragement, you're programming your own mind to look for possibilities rather than problems. Marcus Aurelius wrote in his personal journal, "Be like the rocky headland on which the waves constantly break. It stands firm, and round it the seething waters are laid to rest." Your controlled speech can be that headland for others. In a world of reactive communication, your thoughtful words become a source of calm and strength. Here's a practice that will transform your relationships immediately. For the next 7 days, before you speak in any emotionally charged situation, take 3 deep breaths. In the first breath, ask yourself what you're feeling. In the second, ask what the other person might be feeling. In the third, ask what words would serve the highest good of everyone involved. The amazing thing about mastering your mouth is that it creates a feedback loop. When you speak with intention, people respond to you differently. They listen more carefully, trust you more deeply, and seek your counsel more often. This isn't manipulation. It's the natural result of becoming someone worth listening to. But perhaps the most powerful aspect of mouth mastery is how it affects your relationship with yourself. Every time you keep a promise you made verbally, you're building self-trust. Every time you speak kindly about yourself, you're reshaping your self-image. Every time you refuse to gossip or complain, you're choosing to focus your mental energy on what you can control. Remember, your words don't just communicate your thoughts, they shape them. When you consistently speak words of possibility, gratitude, and wisdom, your mind begins to think in those patterns automatically. You become what you repeatedly say. The mouth is the gateway between your inner world and the outer world. Master this gateway, and you master the flow of energy in both directions. Tomorrow, we'll explore how this same principle applies to your emotional world. Affirm this below and make it your daily reminder. I speak with power, not impulse. Number 2. Master your mood. The inner weather system. Imagine if you woke up every morning and someone else decided what the weather would be inside your mind. Some days they'd choose stormy anger, other days foggy sadness, and occasionally, if you were lucky, they might pick sunny happiness. This is exactly how most people live their emotional lives, completely at the mercy of external circumstances. But here's what changed everything for me, and what the Stoics discovered over 2,000 years ago. You are not the victim of your emotions. You are their creator. Viktor Frankl, a Holocaust survivor and psychologist, spent years in Nazi concentration camps. In the most horrific circumstances imaginable, he made a discovery that echoes ancient Stoic wisdom. Between stimulus and response, there is a space. In that space is our power to choose our response. In our response lies our growth and our freedom. Think about that space. Right now, as you're listening to this, That space exists within you. Between every trigger and your emotional response, there's a moment, sometimes just a split second, where you have complete power to choose. The Stoics called this the discipline of desire. It's not about wanting less. It's about wanting what you have and accepting what you cannot change while working diligently on what you can. When you master this, your mood becomes like a well-tuned instrument that you can play rather than a wild storm that plays you. Here's the truth that might shock you. Your emotions are not facts. They're interpretations. When someone doesn't text you back immediately, the situation is neutral. Your mind creates the story that they're ignoring you, mad at you, or don't care about you. But what if you created a different story? What if they're busy, their phone died, or they're planning something special for you? Marcus Aurelius practiced this daily. He wrote, "You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength." Every morning, he would remind himself that the day would bring challenges, difficult people, and unexpected events. But instead of dreading these, he saw them as opportunities to practice emotional mastery. Try this powerful exercise right now. Think of something that's been bothering you lately. Now ask yourself, what story am I telling myself about this situation? Then ask, what's another way I could interpret this? And finally, which interpretation serves my highest good? The magic happens when you realize that you've been the author of your emotional experience all along. You just didn't know you were writing the story. But mood mastery isn't about toxic positivity or pretending everything is fine. It's about choosing responses that empower you rather than drain you. When you feel anger, instead of suppressing it or letting it explode, you can use it as fuel for positive change. When you feel sadness, instead of drowning in it, you can let it connect you to your humanity and compassion for others. The Stoics had a beautiful practice called evening reflection. Each night, they would review their day and ask, what emotions did I experience today? Which ones served me? Which ones controlled me? How can I respond better tomorrow? Here's what happens when you start practicing mood mastery. You stop being afraid of your emotions because you know you can handle them. You stop avoiding difficult situations because you trust your ability to navigate them emotionally. You become the calm center in other people's storms, which makes you incredibly valuable in relationships and work. Remember, every emotion you feel is information, not instruction. Anger tells you something matters to you. Fear tells you to pay attention. Sadness tells you you've lost something valuable. But none of these emotions get to make your decisions for you. Your mood is your inner weather system, and just like a skilled meteorologist, you can learn to predict, prepare for, and even influence the weather in your mind. Type this below if you're ready to take control of your emotional world. I control my emotions. They don't control me. Number 3. Master your money, the tool of freedom. Money reveals who you are more than almost anything else in life. It's not just currency, it's crystallized energy, time, and choices. And how you handle it determines whether you live as a free person or as a slave to your own desires. Seneca was one of the wealthiest men in Rome, yet he wrote, "It is not the man who has too little, but the man who craves more, who is poor." This wasn't theoretical philosophy for him. He lived it. Despite his immense wealth, he regularly practiced voluntary discomfort, sleeping on the floor and eating simple meals, to remind himself that his happiness didn't depend on luxury. Here's the brutal truth most people don't want to hear. If you can't control your spending, you can't control your life. Every purchase you make is either moving you toward freedom or toward slavery. There's no neutral ground. But money mastery isn't about being cheap or depriving yourself of joy. It's about aligning your spending with your values and using money as a tool rather than letting it use you. When you buy something because you're sad, bored, or trying to impress others. Money is using you. When you buy something because it genuinely adds value to your life or helps you serve others better, you're using money. The Stoics practiced something called preferred indifference. Things that are generally good to have, but don't determine your worth or happiness. Money falls into this category. It's better to have than not have, but it should never become your master. Think about your last impulse purchase. You know, that thing you bought that's probably sitting unused somewhere in your house right now. In that moment of purchase, what were you really trying to buy? Was it the item itself, or were you trying to buy a feeling, status, comfort, excitement, or acceptance? Here's a practice that will revolutionize your relationship with money. Before making any non-essential purchase, pause and ask yourself, what am I really trying to buy here? If the answer is a feeling or experience, find a way to get that feeling without spending money first. Often, you'll discover you don't need the purchase at all. But true money mastery goes beyond just controlling spending. It's about generating value. The Stoics believed in contributing to the common good. When you focus on serving others through your work, money becomes a natural byproduct rather than the primary goal. This shift in perspective changes everything about how you earn and spend. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "In the morning when thou risest unwillingly, let this thought be present. I am rising to the work of a human being." When you see your work as service rather than just a way to make money, you bring excellence to it that inevitably leads to greater financial rewards. Here's what changed my entire financial life. I started tracking not just where my money went, but how I felt after each purchase. I created 3 columns: purchase, reason, and feeling after. What I discovered shocked me. The purchases that brought lasting satisfaction were always aligned with my values. Books that expanded my mind, experiences with loved ones, tools that helped me serve others better. The impulse purchases, the status buys, the emotional spending, these consistently left me feeling empty or regretful. This simple practice gave me clarity about my spending patterns that no budget app ever could. Money mastery also means understanding the difference between assets and liabilities. Every dollar you spend should either maintain your ability to earn more or increase your capacity to serve others. When you start thinking this way, you naturally begin building wealth instead of just consuming it. Remember, the goal isn't to hoard money, it's to have enough freedom to be generous, to take calculated risks, and to make decisions based on what's right rather than what you can afford. Number 4, master your mind, the command center. Your mind is like a garden. Every thought you allow to stay is a seed you're planting. The question is, what kind of harvest do you want to reap? Right now, as you're listening to this, thousands of thoughts are competing for your attention. Worries about tomorrow, regrets from yesterday, judgments about what you're hearing, plans for later today. Most people live their entire lives as passive observers of this mental chaos, never realizing they have the power to choose which thoughts deserve their energy. Epictetus taught his students, "Wealth consists in not having great possessions, but in having few wants." But he wasn't just talking about material wealth. He was talking about mental wealth. When you stop entertaining every thought that knocks on the door of your consciousness, you become incredibly rich in peace and focus. Think about this. You wouldn't let strangers walk into your house and rearrange your furniture. Yet you let random thoughts walk into your mind and rearrange your entire emotional state. A single negative thought can derail your entire day if you give it permission to stay. The Stoics developed a practice called prososh, constant attention to the present moment and vigilant monitoring of your thoughts. It's not meditation in the way we think of it today. It's more like being a security guard for your own mind, deciding which thoughts get access and which ones get turned away. Here's a practice that will change your life immediately. For the next week, every time you catch yourself in a negative thought spiral, stop and ask yourself, is this thought helping me or hurting me? Is it moving me toward who I want to become or away from it? If it's not serving you, consciously choose to replace it with a thought that does. But mind mastery isn't about toxic positivity or pretending problems don't exist. It's about choosing productive thoughts over destructive ones. Instead of thinking, this is terrible and there's nothing I can do, you think, this is challenging and I need to find the best way forward. Same situation, completely different mental experience. Marcus Aurelius wrote in his journal, "The universe is change. Our life is what our thoughts make it." He understood that while he couldn't control the Roman Empire's enemies, the political intrigue, or even his own mortality, he had absolute sovereignty over his mental kingdom. Your mind is constantly telling you stories about what things mean. Someone doesn't smile at you, and your mind creates a story about rejection. Traffic is heavy, and your mind creates a story about being late and everything going wrong. Your boss asks to see you, and your mind creates a story about being in trouble. But here's the power. You can rewrite these stories in real time. That person who didn't smile might be dealing with their own struggles. Heavy traffic is an opportunity to practice patience or listen to something educational. Your boss wanting to see you might be good news. The ancient Stoics had a concept called the discipline of judgment, the practice of separating facts from the stories we tell ourselves about those facts. A fact is, it's raining. A story is, this rain is ruining my day. When you master this distinction, you become incredibly powerful, because your emotional state stops being controlled by external circumstances. Try this right now. Think of something that's been stressing you lately. Now separate the actual facts from the story you're telling yourself about those facts. You'll be amazed at how much of your stress comes from the story, not the facts. Your mind is also incredibly powerful at problem solving when you direct it properly. Instead of letting it run wild with worry, give it specific problems to solve. Instead of, what if everything goes wrong? Ask, what's the best way to handle this situation? Your mind loves challenges, but it needs clear direction from you. Remember, every thought you think is either building the person you're becoming or tearing that person down. You are literally thinking yourself into existence every moment of every day. Comment, I'm the architect of my mind to claim my power. Number 5. The ripple effect. How mastery transforms everything. Here's something beautiful that happens when you start mastering these 4 areas. They don't just change individually, they create a ripple effect that transforms your entire life experience. It's like tuning an instrument. When one string is perfectly tuned, it makes all the others sound better too. When you master your mouth, people start seeking your counsel because your words carry weight and wisdom. When you master your mood, you become the calm center that others gravitate toward in times of chaos. When you master your money, you gain the freedom to make decisions based on values rather than survival. And when you master your mind, you see opportunities where others see only problems. But the real magic happens in the spaces between these 4 pillars. Let me tell you about Sarah, a single mother who attended one of my workshops last year. She came feeling completely overwhelmed, struggling with debt, constantly snapping at her children, worried sick about the future, and trapped in negative thought patterns that kept her awake at night. 6 months later, Sarah sent me a message that brought tears to my eyes. By applying these principles, she had not only paid off her credit cards, but had started a small side business. Her relationship with her children had completely transformed because she learned to speak from love rather than frustration. But most importantly, she said she felt like herself again, calm, confident, and in control. The beautiful thing about Stoic wisdom is that it creates what psychologists call an upward spiral. Each small victory in one area gives you confidence to tackle challenges in another area. When you successfully control your words in a heated moment, you prove to yourself that you can control your emotions too. When you resist an impulse purchase, you strengthen the same mental muscle that helps you resist negative thoughts. Aristotle said, "We are what we repeatedly do." Excellence, then, is not an act, but a habit. The Stoics took this further. They understood that mastery in these 4 areas creates a compound effect. Each day of practice doesn't just make that day better, it makes every future day easier. Think about the person you were 6 months ago. What were you struggling with then? Now imagine the person you could become 6 months from now if you consistently applied these principles. The gap between who you are and who you could be isn't as wide as you think. It's just a series of small daily choices. Here's what I want you to understand. You don't have to be perfect at all 4 areas simultaneously. In fact, trying to do that often leads to frustration and giving up. Instead, pick one area that resonates most with you right now and focus on that for the next 30 days. Let mastery in that area naturally influence the others. The Stoics believed in something called sympathia, the interconnectedness of all things. Your inner work doesn't just benefit you, it benefits everyone around you. When you become more controlled in your speech, you reduce conflict in your relationships. When you manage your emotions better, you create a more peaceful environment for your family. When you handle money wisely, you model financial responsibility for your children. When you direct your thoughts constructively, you become a source of solutions rather than problems. But perhaps the most profound ripple effect is how mastery changes your relationship with difficulty itself. Instead of seeing challenges as things that happen to you, you start seeing them as opportunities to practice your mastery. Every difficult conversation becomes a chance to practice mouth control. Every stressful situation becomes an opportunity for mood mastery. Every financial decision becomes practice for money wisdom. Every worry becomes a chance to redirect your mental energy. This shift in perspective, from victim to practitioner, changes everything about how you experience life. Comment below if you're ready to turn every challenge into strength. Every challenge is my chance to grow stronger. We started this journey with Epictetus, a man who transformed from physical slave to spiritual teacher. His secret wasn't changing his circumstances, it was mastering himself within those circumstances. Today, you have the same choice he made over 2,000 years ago. You now understand that true freedom isn't about having unlimited choices. It's about making the right choices consistently. You've learned that your mouth, mood, money, and mind aren't separate areas of life. They're interconnected pillars that either support your growth or undermine it. But here's what I want you to remember most. This isn't about becoming perfect. It's about becoming intentional. Every time you pause before speaking, you're practicing mouth mastery. Every time you choose your response to a challenging emotion, you're developing mood mastery. Every time you align your spending with your values, you're building money wisdom. Every time you redirect a negative thought, you're strengthening your mental sovereignty. The ancient Stoics faced wars, plagues, political upheaval, and personal tragedies. They didn't have easy lives, but they had something better. They had unshakable inner strength that came from mastering these 4 fundamental areas. That same strength is available to you. Your transformation starts with a single decision. The decision to take responsibility for your inner world. Not because life is fair, it isn't. Not because it's easy, it won't be. But because you deserve to live as the master of your own experience, rather than as a victim of circumstances. 6 months from now, you'll either be the same person with the same struggles, or you'll be someone who has learned to navigate life with wisdom, intention, and inner strength. The choice is entirely yours, and the time to make it is right now. Remember Epictetus's words, "No one can hurt you without your permission." Today, you withdraw that permission. Today you begin the journey from reaction to response, from chaos to control, from slavery to freedom. The 4 pillars of mastery are waiting for you. Your future self is counting on you. And somewhere in the eternal realm of ideas, the ancient Stoics are cheering you on. Take the first step. Start today. Start now. If this message resonated with you, smash that like button. Share this with someone who needs to hear it. Drop your commitment in the comments below and subscribe for more life-changing wisdom. Your journey to mastery begins now.